This video is brought to you by Bespoke Post.
Stay tuned to find out more.
Slim brown skin, I be standing 5'10", I be rocking it when I be in your vicinity. Raw style synergy, recognize symmetry. Come try to injure me, broke them down chemically. Ain't the number 10 MC, talking about how when I be styled it like Kennedy, late like a 10 to 3. When I say when I be, girl say when I key, cause it's the 10 to be.
I ain't gonna lie, my son got balls. I ain't gonna lie. But my first time seeing Mos Def, no funny shit. I seen him in My Wife and Kids, while like he was playing like a character when he was in a wheelchair. You know, like y'all remember y'all remember like he was in one episode of My Wife and Kids.
Way out like Tennessee, take me to a place called the BK without pause or delay. Get run like pen relay. Don't deal with he say, she say. Ain't working for no cheap pay. The most deaf beat play. This what the streets say. Hey, Mr. DJ, play that devil Mogan. That jam got me open. Decide to break it broken. From front, side to side, middle to back. Never the whack. I come from Bed-Stuy Black. From Louis AVE to be exact. Brooklyn.
Although they may intersect, there's some bold voices out there who will always believe that art and business can be separated when you remain true to yourself. Where others are happy to be commercialized, reupholstered, and sold as a part of a multi-pack of rappers who are all riding the same wave, the mark of a true musician is to never water down the art to feed the algorithm, even if it means you have to sacrifice a degree of success. But despite making strides in the mainstream with film roles and collabs with high-profile rappers, there's no one who had potential quite like Mos Def, or as he's known today, Yasin Bey. Born Dante Terrell Smith in Brooklyn, the man who began his career alongside his siblings as a member of Urban Thermodynamics was entrenched in the culture since birth. After UTD acquired features on De La Soul Records, Mos Def was soon making such a name for himself that even his freestyles in the park would become stuff of legend. Politically attuned and spiritually switched on, Mos made his first major splash in the game alongside another name that becomes synonymous with conscious rap, Talib Kweli. Together, Mos and Talib formed Black Star.
I ain't gonna lie, Talib Kweli is his songs is fire, bro. That son, that got bars too, son. Talib Kweli, he has bars. I ain't gonna lie.
And delivered a masterclass
And socially outspoken, Afrocentric hip-hop which quickly made both men underground stars. And rather than be a traditional rap group, their debut project would be a launchpad for both men's solo careers. And in Mos's case, it wasn't long before he truly blew up. In his first Fader cover in 2000, he not only received praise from a hip-hop icon, but the exact man's steps that he was looking to follow. Mos Def has a willingness to be liberated, said Q-Tip. To not really have anything bar him from his expression is something that's just brave. And not a lot of artists have that. It's one thing that I had to kind of learn, but with him, it's something that's innate. He just has a beautiful spirit, a very even-keeled person. And I think that those are things that'll make him a genius. But I just think he doesn't realize how genius he is. Even before the issue hit the shelves, the entire world was beginning to become aware of Mos with the release of his 1999 album, Black on Both Sides, a project which holds as much weight today as it did then. The album became an instant classic.
It's a great record to me. It changed so much for me. One of the greatest things in my life. And I'm glad that they're still interested in it and people feel like it's worth their time. I'm really grateful.
Ever feel like subscription boxes can get a little bit repetitive? For those who don't know, a subscription box is a
viable alternative.
Avoiding the preachiness of other conscious rappers in favor of an understated demeanor, Mos had the world in his hands as hip-hop progressed to the early 2000s. But as it turned out, he was too unconventional for the music industry to the point that he could no longer play its games. Meaning that from the moment he signed to a major record company, he was already beginning to see through the illusion. There's a very practice in the record industry around sales, in my opinion, he told the Fader. The emphasis is always put on performance when it comes to black folk. We have to perform quicker, stronger, and with less resources. And when we satisfy that criteria, we're still underappreciated. The labels put the emphasis on sales. They put the pressure on the artists to perform quickly and strongly. Then the artists put that pressure on themselves. And what happens is that the music suffers and then the audience suffers. And it's a domino effect. The bottom line is that if hip-hop was not selling records, they wouldn't be putting it out. These labels, they could care less about the historical relationship or the cultural relationship. They don't have any social, cultural, economic, or political sensitivity to hip-hop. A statement which touched on the pressures for rappers to remain hot or viral. Mos, who'd actually changed his name to Yasin Bey because he felt like a product more than a person, never played ball with the record industry. And instead of playing it safe and replicating the sound of his debut album, each of his albums were wildly different. So while The New Danger isn't comparable in sound to his quote-unquote classic album, and songs such as The Rap Over took aim at music industry figures such as Lee or Cohen, that didn't make it any less compelling. Meanwhile, his album, True Magic, was unveiled purely to satisfy his commitments to his record label, and even though it was seen as a flop, it still gained a Grammy nod for Best Rap Song. To make matters more interesting, his 2009 album, The Ecstatic, which is regarded as one of his best albums, isn't even available on streaming services. Where others feel like Most threw it all away with his stance towards the industry, it's unlikely that the notion of leaving money off the table holds any weight to Yasin. As to him, artistic integrity is and was a higher calling than any amount of money.
Even more than the money, the thing that I'm most focused on is that people take their time to listen to what I have to say. And I really value that because you could be doing anything, but you take that time to listen to what I have to say.
Unable to betray his artistry, most believe that for him, music wasn't intended to fatten his pockets, but expand minds and shed lyrical light. Simply put, he needs to have something to say, not just an appealing or melodic way of delivering it. Me and Mos Def argue about this all the time. Dave Chappelle said during an interview with Kendrick Lamar. Most is of the belief that a person with a platform has a responsibility to other people. It's the old adage, to whom much is given, much is expected. As a result of this logic, Most has been outspoken about the recklessness that rappers can distribute to the world.
We gotta show them a better way. You can do whatever you like, but it certainly doesn't hurt you or take anything away from you. It's not a huge burden to be mindful that the world is watching, and in particular, the young folks. It don't mean you have to have a halo coming over your head, but certain types of attitudes, language, imagery do more harm than good, you know?
Seen by Common as an inspiration for his own acting career, Mos' work in both music and acting meant that he could have been a crossover star like a Will Smith or Ice Cube. Instead, he channeled his energy into more important causes. From shining a light on the barbaric practice of force-feeding at Guantanamo Bay, to releasing a PSA on NYPD's stop and frisk policy, Mos began to live a life that was incompatible with the entertainment industry. And in order to further remove himself from the rat race, he made the fateful decision to move to South Africa. An exit from the States that led him to eventually be exiled from the country due to his use of a world passport. Mos has spent recent years living a life of a nomad. And along the way, he made the decision to step away from hip-hop. And in an interview with Hot 97, he detailed why he chose his sanity over success.
I don't want to go deal with that and bring that home to my family or bring that home to myself. I don't want my mom to have to inherit the PTSD from running around in the rap game and the beefs. You see people can't get along for longer than 20 minutes. Now it's just like a lot of crazy noise, but it's dangerous because now people's egos is involved because they did it on camera for the Instagram generation.
An eternal student of the culture who counts Earl Sweatshirt, Blue, Makomi, JPEG Mafia, Kendrick, and Blood Orange among his favorite modern artists, it's no exaggeration to say that each and every one of them are descendants of Yasin. With Kendrick Lamar admitting that Mos gave me a lot of game early on, it's clear that if he wanted to, he could call upon all of his musical offspring to create one of the most illustrious projects in conscious hip-hop history. Instead, he's intent with existing and creating within his own parameters. His latest solo release, Niggas, came in the form of an art installation that was held in the Brooklyn Museum and could only be listened to on the premises with your phone locked away. And while most artists would see this as limiting, this was all the exposure Mos wanted his work to have.
Art is not just limited or restricted solely to what you can hang on a wall. It includes music as well. I had a strong feeling that it needed to be a more dynamic experience than simply downloading it from a device. And it's a meditative, reflective sort of experience.
And yet another layer of Mos' ideology, he's been adamant that he can't and won't condone the robbery of artists that takes place on Spotify, Apple Music, and other streaming services that pay a tiny percentage of streaming revenues to the artist.
You mean to tell me that the source of labor at the center of this experience is supposed to be satisfied and grateful with receiving a portion of a penny for their efforts and labor? Now, whoever else is happy with that, that's you. But when it relates to something that I'm doing and that I've been doing, I don't have to ask you permission. Something I just don't feel right, and I'm searching for a better way to do it. That's completely my volition. I'm not here to be run by the audience's expectations because I have my own needs. You don't get to tell me what to do with what I make. It's between me and God. You understand?
As a result of this philosophy, No Fear of Time, the long-awaited sophomore album from Black Star and produced by Madlib, was released exclusively through the Luminary Podcast Network. And by taking a follow-up to a seminal album and refusing to maximize its appeal, Yasin once again proved that his anti-commercialistic stance isn't a gimmick, but an ethos that governs his every decision.
The music speaks better than I don't like to get in the way of it. I was never big on being like a celebrity because that just confuses the issue. I do have a public profile, but I also recognize and never forget that the reason I have a public profile is the work. All of the other, like the here and there and the movements, that's cool. But the only reason that we up here talking is because I do this and I get busy as an artist.
Whether it's issues with his own catalog or refusing to play the jazz icon Thelonious Monk in a biopic until he got the family's permission, Moses Conscious never wavers. And despite the fact that everyone in hip-hop likes to say how real they are, it's no exaggeration to say that no one embodies authenticity like Yasin, for better or worse. Led by the principle that I don't respect money if I got it for something I don't love, Mos has fulfilled the role he'd always wanted to play within hip-hop. And for that, he's now seen as a role model by artists old and new. Although everything he released didn't hit the highs of Respiration, Oh No, or Mathematics, it was always fascinating to listen to which version of Yasin we'd get when he stepped into the booth. And for this reason alone, he could never spit a verse again and still be respected for generations. And although Yasin isn't a superstar, but more of a cultural voice of reason, there are those such as Bootleg Kev who'd argue that he sold himself short. But to Yasin, the concept of being the GOAT doesn't motivate him. In fact, you can rest assured that when he goes to bed each night, the last thing Mos is thinking about is his ranking among the greats.
To me, I have zero to prove. I got 3 careers. I have no bones to make with nobody about nothing because I'm doing my due. That's what I'm doing. I'm too busy enjoying life to be concerned about whose top 5 I'm in or not in. Don't even put it on the scale away. It's off the chart. It's too heavy for the scale to say.
Okay, that's the vid. So yeah, let me know what y'all think, bro. For the old heads that's watching this, bro. For like, was y'all a fan of this? Was y'all a fan of Mos Def? And if y'all, let me know what y'all think. What is your favorite music of his? What is your favorite music of his, bro? What is your favorite song of his that y'all like? Okay, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Y'all little vibes. Whatever you're checking out, you are.